They adopted, though, the orthodox position in England in terms of balancing Article 8 and Article 10 rights. They said that the decisive factor lies in the contribution that the prohibited articles make, or the names information makes, to a debate of general interest. And that's the balancing exercise in these cases. The courts look to see, does the thing that the newspaper wants to publish add anything to any legitimate debate? And if it does, is it sufficiently important to outweigh the Article 8 rights if Article 8 is engaged? And that is, of course, influenced by the children and family life involved. And in this case, although one of the individuals could put forward quite good evidence that his children, you'd imagine, would be quite upset if their father was named as an international terrorist or suspected international terrorist, said that was overridden by the importance for the media to have the actual names of the individuals. Because the Supreme Court held that Article 10 doesn't just guarantee the right to give and receive information, it also guarantees the rights of newspapers to produce interesting information. An article is less salesworthy, less interesting, if the names and photos aren't in it. It's more interesting, it's a higher quality, if it contains the names of the individuals and their pictures. And if newspapers can be sold, we won't have newspapers, and freedom of speech in the broadest sense will be damaged. And they found, in that case, the rights of the individuals was outweighed by the Article 10 rights of the Guardian newspaper and other media interests. And the worst thing of all in that case, in my view, was that Geoffrey Robertson and the Guardian, normally bastions of liberal thinking, relied very heavily on the fact that these people were alleged terrorists, and terrorism a matter of general interest, in circumstances where it was accepted that they had no way of challenging that allegation. It wasn't open to them to challenge the underlying allegation of being associated with Al-Qaeda. The Guardian, HM Treasury. Coming back to the super injunction material, there's been a rake of recent cases. One in particular, and I realise I'm running out of time, it's called ETK, and it's referred to at the back of my paper, where the courts, this was the Court of Appeal, refused to grant an injunction preventing the publication of an article by the News of the World describing a sexual liaison between two well-known figures in the entertainment industry. Mr. Justice Collins found this was a case where the man and his wife both wanted to stop the publication, and the woman with whom he had the affair wanted the publication stopped. And the man and woman, the husband and wife, who remained husband and wife notwithstanding the disclosure of the affair, had children, young children. Justice Collins said, Article 8 is engaged, but the rights of the third party, the woman with whom the man had the affair, weren't very significant, and he said the children's rights couldn't tip the balance, and the balance was in favour of Article 10, in favour of disclosure. And the Court of Appeal said this is quite wrong, and this might be an interesting indication as how they deal with cases when there really is no general interest. They said that since a recent case in the European Court of Human Rights called Neulinger in Switzerland, the European Court said, where you're balancing Article 8 and Article 10, normally one doesn't trump the other. But if there are children involved, there is a further interest in the balance, and that is under conventions and interests which are outside the Convention on Rights. And they referred in particular to the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of the Child, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and the European Union's Charter of Fundamental Rights. And they found in Neulinger that where children's interests are engaged, it does tip the balance against disclosure. And that's, as I said, a 2010 case. The Court of Appeal said, similarly, since that was recognised by the European Court, notwithstanding the great protection given to freedom of speech in the Human Rights Act under Section 12, it tipped the balance also in the ETK case, and the Court of Appeal granted the injunction and overturned the decision of Justice Collins. And so in conclusion on these privacy cases, my analysis is that where there is something of general public interest, even something fairly indirect, the courts will favour publication, notwithstanding important family interests, because that's the steer that we're getting from the Supreme Court. But the kiss and tell News of the World staple, that is going to get very short shrift, in my view, from the tired, exhausted and bored judges in the Queen's Bench Division. But the worrying thing is that in these terrorism cases, which will continue, I mean, nobody thinks that these cases are going to go away. The interests, the family rights of those suspected of terrorist offences will, I think, be given less weight in the future in favour of publication. As you all know, purence isn't limited to sexual matters. If you actually read the articles in The Guardian, you would see that there's an element of sensationalism reporting these matters also. And so the balance may not have been properly struck in that particular case, but we'll see how it's treated. I'd be very interested to hear how the Irish courts would have dealt with a similar case. Thank you.